Okay, when you think of baseball, what comes to mind? Hot dogs, summer afternoons? It's as American as it gets, right? Well, what if I told you that's not the whole story? Today, we're going to be detectives and uncover a piece of baseball history that's been hiding in plain sight for over 250 years. So let's just dive right in with a question that might sound, I don't know, a little crazy. What if baseball isn't as American as you think? And I don't mean that as some kind of myth. I mean, what if there's actual, documented proof? This one question, it flips the whole origin story on its head. It takes us way, way away from Cooperstown, New York, all the way across the Atlantic, back to 18th century England. And look, this isn't just some fringe idea. We're talking about Major League Baseball's own official historian, John Thorne. He calls the research we're about to dig into indispensable. He's the one who credits historian David Block with finding the true ancestor of America's pastime, a game that, you guessed it, was already called baseball. All right, so let's get to it. Let's meet this lost pastime. Our investigation kicks off in England with a game called baseball. And this game was a big deal. It was played by literally everyone, from royalty to regular folks. And then, poof, it just vanished. Okay, so first things first. We've got to be super clear about something. We're dealing with two different games that happen to share a name. On one hand, you have the original English baseball. Think of it as a casual, social backyard kind of game. And on the other, you have American baseball, the structured, super competitive sport we know today, which funnily enough actually tried and failed to catch on in Britain later on. Okay, every good detective story needs its first clues, right? That's where we're at now. For English baseball, the evidence starts popping up in a big way right in the middle of the 1700s. This is where the paper trail really begins.
And what's so incredible about this timeline is just how varied the evidence is. You've got a kid's book, a personal letter from an aristocrat, a newspaper clip, and a private diary from a lawyer. This wasn't just some niche game played by one group of people. This proves it was everywhere, and everyone was playing it and talking about it.
Now, the most famous clue, the one that really kicked things off for historians, was found in this charming little children's book. The publisher, John Newbery, was a real trailblazer. He was one of the first people to make books just for kids' enjoyment, not just to lecture them.
And what's inside? This simple little rhyme that is, well, it's instantly recognizable to anyone who knows baseball. The ball once struck off, away flies the boy, to the next destined post, and then home with joy. I mean, come on, strike a ball, run the bases, get home. The basic DNA of the game is laid out, plain as day, all the way back in 1744.
But take a look at the picture that went with the poem. It reveals something huge. There's a pitcher, a batter, or striker, and fielders. But there's no bat. And historians are pretty sure that's not an accident. In this original English game, you didn't swing a bat. You hit the ball with your hand.
All right, the story of how the next piece of evidence came to light, you couldn't make this up. It starts in 2007. A film crew from Major League Baseball is over in England making a documentary about this very subject. They get into a minor car crash, which actually delays some of the crew. And this little bit of bad luck, well, it leads to an absolutely amazing discovery. So, because of this delay, the crew ends up on a BBC News report. And a woman named Tricia sees it. She calls the studio and says, "Hey, I think I have a diary from 1755 that mentions baseball." So of course, the crew rushes over to her cottage, which is just filled with books and papers. But she can't find it. After this frantic search, she finally shouts, "Eureka! I found it!" And there it was, a priceless piece of history saved by a fender bender and a phone call. And here's the actual entry from the diary of this young lawyer, William Bray. On Easter Monday in 1755, he just casually writes that after dinner he went to play at baseball. The fact that it's mentioned so matter-of-factly, like going to church, tells you everything. This wasn't some new, exotic thing. It was just a normal part of life. Okay, so we've established the game was real. We've got the evidence. But what was it actually like? Who was playing and what were the rules? Let's build a profile of this forgotten game. So who played? The short answer is pretty much everyone. It's kind of amazing. We have records of the Prince of Wales playing with his son, who would grow up to be King George III. Yeah, that King George. The famous author Jane Austen mentions it in her novel Northanger Abbey. And old newspapers show it was a standard game at school picnics and village parties for all social classes. It was unbelievably inclusive, especially for the time.
So how did you play? Well, thanks to a children's guide from the late 1800s called Jolly Games, we have a pretty good idea. It was really simple and social. You'd choose up sides, the striker would hit a softball with their bare hand, and then leg it from post to post. Now, how did you get someone out? You could catch the ball on the fly, sure, but the other way was for a fielder to literally throw the ball and hit the runner with it between bases, a practice they called soaking or plugging. Ouch.
All right, every good mystery has its share of red herrings, right? Things that throw you off the scent. And baseball's origin story is absolutely full of them. So let's clear up the biggest case of mistaken identity in this whole story.
This table here really helps untangle decades of confusion. First, you've got prisoner's base, total red herring. It's just a tag game, there's no ball involved at all. Then you have the big one, rounders. For years, everyone just assumed rounders was baseball's direct parent because it used a bat and bases. But the evidence now shows that rounders was more like a cousin. It was a later spin-off from the original, batless English baseball, which is our true lost ancestor.
Okay, so if you remember one thing, let it be this. American baseball did not come from rounders. They're like sibling games. Both of them grew out of a much older, common ancestor. That simple, forgotten English game called baseball.
Which of course brings us to the final mystery. If this English baseball was so common, so popular for more than 150 years, where did it go? Why did it get so completely forgotten?
I mean, think about it. For a century and a half, this game was a fixture of English life. You'd see it at picnics, at school festivals, on village greens, and then, poof, it's just gone.
Really, the simple answer is that it just got overshadowed. It was a casualty of progress, in a way. As the 19th century rolled on, England got really serious about the rules and structure of cricket. And at the same time, over in America, its own descendant was evolving into the professional powerhouse sport we know today. The humble English ancestor just got left behind in the dust.
But it didn't go down without a fight. Check this out. In 1874, some American pro baseball teams toured England. Afterwards, the famous humor magazine Punch published this absolutely brilliant satirical letter. It's written as if it's from a farmer in Suffolk, which was a hotbed for English baseball, and he's basically making fun of the people in London for fawning over this new American game. He's saying, hey, those Yankees just stole our game and are selling it back to us?
And that farmer's letter, man, it just leaves us with this perfect, defiant final thought. We don't need people coming thousands of miles to teach us something our grandfathers taught our fathers. It's such a great reminder that the history we think we know, well, it isn't always the whole story. And sometimes a pastime that seems lost is just waiting for someone to dig a little deeper and find it again.